Good morning, welcome to the centre of Cardiff. Across the year I've been filming all sorts of bits and pieces around Cardiff thinking how can I make this into a short video or something which is a bit more off the tracks or something relevant to something going on in Cardiff. And I came to the conclusion it's probably just going to be quicker if I put them all together in one thing. So this is 10 things you can see in Cardiff should you visit. Some of them are well known, some of them are not so well known. And yes, they will include a cross-dressing German prisoner of war. So stay to the end and you'll see what that one's all about. But we're going to start with something which is a Cardiff favourite. The Animal Wall. It's a well-loved part of Cardiff Castle. The castle itself was bequeathed to the Cardiff public in 1947 by the 5th Marquess of Bute. But the carvings on the Animal Wall began in the late 1880s, based on sketches by William Burge, who was the architect employed by the 3rd Marquess of Bute. And originally it was built directly outside the castle. They included a pair of lions holding shields, a lioness, a lynx, a bear, a sea lion, a wolf, and a pair of apes and a hyena. You can tell these because basically the original animals have got glass eyes. The wall was moved and relocated west of Cardiff in 1923, and 6 extra animals were added, including a vulture, a beaver, a leopard, a pair of raccoons, a pelican, and this anteater. In 2010, the wall was completely cleaned and renovated as part of the Heritage Project. And it is a lovely, lovely feature of Cardiff, and many people walk past it on the way down to the rugby stadium. Apart from anything else, it gives you the opportunity to see what a bear would look like if he stepped on a Lego brick. Tell me I'm wrong. Now, I've mentioned before there was a Welsh boxer called Peerless Jim Driscoll who was buried up in Cathay Cemetery, quite a well-known boxer, and there's a statue to him in Cardiff as well. And there's another boxer that people would have heard from Cardiff called Joe Calzaghe, a Welsh-Italian boxer of recent times. But there was another champion from Cardiff called Jack Peterson. He was born in Whitchurch. He had a 22 unbeaten run and performed, boxed in front of massive crowds, 50,000 at Ninian Park. He was British champion, he was Commonwealth Empire light heavyweight boxer in the 1930s, and he won 33 of his 38 professional fights. There's a blue plaque for him, and it's the outside of the gym where he trained, and it can be found here at St John Street. Today, it's an American fast food chain chicken house, but this was the gym where Jack trained. There was a time when philanthropists, which is a hard word to say for me, didn't do things like launch rockets into space or try to convince people he could put tubes down a vacuum. No, they used to actually do good. They'd build libraries, they'd build hospitals, they'd build schools. This garden I'm standing in was actually part of a legacy from the Marquess of Bute. And this next item is also a legacy. In 1860, the then Mayor Alderman William Alexander left this drinking fountain to the people of Cardiff. Now, it was originally placed in front of the town hall, then it moved to Mill Lane, and in 1952 it was moved here by Kingsway on the bridge over the dock feeder. Sadly, it no longer works, but still has its inscription. Jesus said unto her, whoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. Whoever drinketh of the water I shall give him shall never thirst, which is a quote from John chapter 4. Did you know Cardiff's got 2 cathedrals? There's Llandaff Cathedral, which is the main Anglican one, but there's also this one tucked away in the centre of Cardiff. It's the Cardiff Catholic Metropolitan Cathedral, and in here there's a very interesting memorial. In the 1940s, in the midst of the Second World War, Britain interred a lot of people who they considered might be a threat to the state. That included Germans who had come over here and fled as refugees, Jewish refugees, but it also included a large number of Italians, and there was a big Italian community up in the Welsh valleys. Some of them were transported over to the Isle of Man, but others were sent to Canada. And there was a ship called the Arandora Star, and on the 2nd July 1940, she was sunk by a German U-boat off the coast of Ireland with a huge loss of life. Of these, the majority were Italian, and 53 from Wales. In 2010, on the 70th anniversary of the sinking of the ship, a new memorial was unveiled in the cathedral, and it contains the 53 names of the Italians who were lost in that disaster. And it's one of many memorials to this tragic loss of life. And it's opposite the cathedral we find our next destination. Take a look at this chapel. You think, oh, it's a chapel. Yes, it used to be Ebenezer Chapel. It's a Welsh independent chapel before it closed, and today it's a venue for weddings and this sort of thing. But look at the different coloured stones. What's that all about? Well, we come back to what I've always said when I've made my railway videos. Up there is coal, down there is docks, and if you get the coal to the docks, you're going to sail ships full of coal off around the world. Great. Those ships have got to come back empty, and that's a little bit of a hazard because they need to be ballasted to make sure they don't turn over. What do they ballast them with? Stone. What do you do with the stone when you get there? You sell it and you build things out of it. And this chapel was made entirely out of ship's ballast. Now, it was said that it was made of stones from every country in the world, and that, however, isn't true. But, as you can see, it's made from a lot of different coloured stones that came from a lot of different coloured places. It closed in 2010 because of backlog of building repairs, and as I said, after a grant, it's reopened as a cornerstone, a venue for arts events and what have you. And there, somewhere tucked away in there, there's a cafe. Thirsty worse doing this. Time for a pit stop, find a coffee. There are a massive number of chain coffee houses in Cardiff, but I prefer to frequent one of the many independent coffee shops which are available in abundance in and around the centre. While I have a soft spot for Brody's, who serve great brews from an ex-tram ticket office outside of the museum, one of my favourites is Little Man Coffee. If it looks familiar, you may have seen it on Doctor Who. It involved space rhinos and hiding out a former doctor. They do great coffee and have some great nibbles, but the reason I'm singling them out is this. How many coffee shops do you visit which has a bank vault in the basement? This used to be a bank, converted it into a coffee shop, and you can now sit in it. You can actually book it for meetings if you wish to. A pretty thick door in it as well. This building was the Cardiff Free Library. It opened in 1882 and closed with the building of a new one in 1988. It's had a number of different uses since then, and today holds a museum of Cardiff life. But it's what else that's in here, hidden in plain sight, which we've come to see. Originally, to enter the library, you climbed these steps and you would find this, a beautiful tiled corridor demonstrating Victoria Cardiff's wealth, confidence and ambition. The tiles were manufactured by McCaw & Co. of Broseley in Shropshire, which is kind of like part of the Iron Bridge Gorge and the whole Coalbertdale area. It was actually closed off in 88 when the library closed, and it was only in 2010 that work took place to restore it and bring it back to its original glory. And it's a wonderful example of a Victorian tile decoration. It features 2 drinking fountains, which were moved from elsewhere in the building. This next one I particularly love. You see, there's a lot of art around Cardiff, huge amount of it. We've got a museum and art gallery behind me here, which is full of everything from Renaissance paintings, Impressionist paintings, right through to modern day art. We have street art, we have statues, we have all sorts. But one of my favourite bits is this road here, which is an art gallery. And you may not believe it, but there are 11 pieces of artwork hidden in plain sight. Where? They're in the bollards. You see, in 2010, an artist called Jane Eden created Post Secrets, which is a great name, and these are hidden inside the bollards. They aim to be art which blends in with the surrounding, and even now, 12 years later, not many people know they're here, despite the obvious clues. This year, they were actually all removed and renovated, an extra post added with this notice on saying they're here. So you're in Cardiff, head down to the Hayes, have a look in the bollards. These days in Cardiff, you see a lot of these. They are electric battery buses. And it's seen as a great way ahead to get rid of diesel, petrol, and to have things powered by electricity, which I'm all for. But they're not the first electric buses in Cardiff. As some of you will know, there used to be a thing called a trolley bus. Trolley bus basically took its power from wires, two poles up onto the wires, one to take the current in, one to put it back again, and they ran just like normal buses. Some of them actually had batteries in, so they needed to move off the wires, they could, but generally they stuck to their routes. The system expanded all over Cardiff, from Ely to Roath Park, down into Bute Town, where they had single deck trolley buses to work under the bridges at Bute Street. It closed in 1970. And everything was removed. There is no remnant or reminder at all that there was ever this massive electric bus system here, except this. There was quite simply one pole left, the bottom of Churchill Way, where the dock feeder comes out behind this hotel. You can see this metal rusting pole, and that's it. That is the remnant of the Cardiff trolley bus system. This is the Angel Hotel. It has been around for many, many years, and I've been for a number of Christmas lunches here with various organisations. It was opened in 1883 by the Bland family of Haverfordwest, and its upper stories gave splendid views over Cardiff Castle on the one side and over the Cardiff Arms Park, right across the Leckworth Woods on the other side. It's a little bit more built up these days. Telephones weren't available when it opened, but there were speaking tubes which allowed you to speak to reception. In 1918, a guest arrived. He checked in. He had a single suitcase, very quiet, didn't say very much. He stopped the night. He had breakfast, read the Western Mail, the local paper, and checked out. People speaking about him at the time said he just looked like a normal, ordinary person, and they thought he was a travelling salesman. Gave no thought to him whatsoever. He left the Angel Hotel and he walked round the corner to what was then Catay's police station and asked to speak to the chief constable. He then revealed that he was actually an escaped German prisoner of war. His name was Lieutenant Heitz. Heinrich Ernstein Heitz had been captured and was in a prisoner of war camp up in Wakefield in Yorkshire. And he had left, he'd escaped, he'd headed to London, and he'd done this before and been captured and sent back again. This time this time he's kind of like, oh, this is serious, because apparently he posted his uniform back to the camp commandant. He was wined and dined in London, dressed as a woman. He was very slightly built, and he basically pretended that he was a female, and he ate out on it. Why he then caught a train to Cardiff, nobody knows. And why he handed himself in, nobody knows. And he never talked about it. Yes, he talked about his escapades of escaping. He talked about his time in the prisoner of war camp, but he would never answer the question about why he came to Cardiff and what he hoped to achieve. There's lots of theories about it. Some thought he might have caught the flu. The influenza epidemic was massive, and he might have been scared of that. But the main reason a lot of people think is it was 1918, it was towards the end of the war, and the newspaper would probably be covering the fact that the war was coming to an end. And he may have thought, well, the only way I'm ever going to get back to Germany is if I hand myself in and return as a prisoner. Whatever happens, the hotel is still here, the police station is long gone, and it's now where the magistrates' court are. Is there more? Of course there is. There's so much in Cardiff to see. I mean, I haven't mentioned the castle. There's so much in there to see in the castle. And if you do go, get the guided tour, because the staterooms, bedrooms and everything of the Bute is absolutely phenomenal. And there's the tour of the Principality Stadium. I haven't mentioned Scott, because Captain Scott sailed from Cardiff, and one of the hotels in the centre of Cardiff actually had his last dinner in before he left to head for that fateful trip down to the South Pole. There is, everywhere you turn, everywhere you look, there is more and more things to see. And if you do come, this is just 10, but have a look at History Points. History Points is some of the things I've got from here I knew about already, but I've been able to get more information from History Points. They're QR codes that you can look at, and they're not just in Cardiff, they're all over. Take a look and see what you can find. And if you do come down and visit my city, enjoy yourself. it's a great place to come. I'll be out and about doing more stuff soon. So until next time.